Theta Pi, we honor thee from life to death, sorority!
For me, a horror movie has always been sort of a roller coaster where you get to go experience something that obviously you've never experienced in real life in the safety and comfort of a nice velvet theater chair.
We were trying to write this movie and trying to bring it back to those golden ages of the slasher movie, where it was really enjoyable and not just about the brutality.
Easy there, Leslie Lohan. This is make-believe, remember?
Well, slasher movies to me it's predominantly young people. They always are set in a summer camp, at a school, at a boarding school.
It's the unknown killer coming to avenge usually a mistake or an accident and make our characters pay the ultimate price.
Oh my God.
A slasher movie is basically the horror movie version of the show Survivor. You start off with a whole group of people, and one by one they are chopped and hacked and killed until you've basically got usually one or two people left standing.
The difference is on Survivor, you just get voted off the island, and in a slasher film, you usually have to show your breasts before getting violently killed. Other than that, it's the same thing.
Well, I think these movies are usually about a group of teens that are sort of at an important moment in their development, you know, whether it's a birthday or an anniversary or graduation, and they're usually teenagers or young adults who are right on the precipice of moving from adolescence into adulthood.
To my sisters at Theta Pi, not just for 4 years, but forever. Aww.
A lot of times these horror movies, especially slasher movies, they're morality tales. It's about a group of kids who make a wrong decision, make a wrong turn at some point in their lives, and then they wind up paying the price for it.
She's dead.
The movie is very much the send-up of the sorority system.
This has been the best 4 years of our lives.
You know, it's something that everybody knows about. You know, from the time you're like an 8-year-old on, you hear about these sororities and fraternities and what college life is, and I think everybody has sort of an image of what that is and how it can go too far.
I think that what Stuart brought to this movie, which I think is really cool, is we set this movie in a world where everyone breaks all of the rules. I mean, the idea of being in a sorority and kind of living that life and rushing and circling people's fat to say that they're too big and excessive drinking.
Yeah, I can see this ending well.
And we figured if somebody's going to be picking off sorority girls, what better motivation could he have than to just be against what it stands for, against Greek life. This movie is as much about kids misbehaving when the adults are away.
Just make sure you don't hurt yourselves or the house, all right?
Every person that's ever been raised to adulthood has the moment in their life where they separate. And that's when you have to start making tough choices.
You know that there's right and there's wrong. I agree. But it's also wrong to destroy the lives of our families for mistakes that we have made.
And for the purposes of every horror movie, they make bad ones. A sorority is a perfect vehicle for the heroine of a horror movie.
Cass, I love you because you're so real.
Oh. Because you're surrounded by your sisters who you have this intense relationship with, who are all persuading you to go do a certain thing. That's what a heroine usually is the one that's been dragged to this terrible decision rather than thought of it herself.
What? I cannot believe my ears. What happened to the tenets of sisterhood? Trust, honor, respect.
Well, you forgot too. Secrecy and solidarity.
Cassidy, obviously, as our lead, is very much like the moral compass of the movie. She's the voice of the audience, in a sense, as they're watching it, which is like, guys, this is funny. I am enjoying having a good time here too, but let's take it down a notch.
She realizes she's made the wrong decision, and she even says in the movie, I'm ready to go to jail. I don't care anymore. I just, I know we did the wrong thing.
This is not something you just sweep under the rug or choose to forget. You have to live with this forever.
The term final girl, which I think is specific, obviously, to the horror genre, is the notion of the one survivor. And almost always the last survivor in these movies is a girl.
It's a girl that winds up stepping up and coming out on top.
Very disappointed in you.
She's definitely kind of like the strong, independent, self-assured, following the beat of her own drum kind of girl.
Asshole!
Often in these movies, the killer has witnessed, some sort of accident or horrific event and has come back to avenge it. Specifically in our movie, our killer is 1 degree away from having actually been there.
Look, Andy, there's some things you really don't know about me.
Trust me, I know.
What really works is when you have a killer that's been maligned or wronged by the very people that he's seeking his vengeance on.
The company I've kept these past 4 years has provided me with a reputation I will always be proud of.
Andy is our valedictorian.
Good luck. God bless.
That decision was as much to make him the opposite of this sorority culture as we could. They're the we don't study, we just party, and he's the sort of grounded, earnest dude.
You sell weed on the quad, right?
No, I was the valedictorian. Your graduation?
He probably in his life has been victimized by these people who treat people terribly. And he's decided he's going to take a very hard-line stance on what should be the fate of these people.
On the average, the killer in a slasher movie is somebody you can't identify, who's hidden either by like creative lighting or some sort of costume that obscures them.
Buddy, you graduated. That's awesome. We're all real impressed.
But they all have the getup, whether it's, Michael Myers and his mask, or Freddy Krueger in his hockey mask, or Scream and the gown.
The first thought was, how do you make a costume that'll obscure the killer, but also is something that other characters in the movie could be wearing?
I called my brother Ed and told him what our problem was. My brother Ed said, it's graduation, right? And I said, yeah. And he said, why don't you just put him in a graduation gown? And he's my older brother, so he yet again found a way to make me feel really stupid, even within my own profession,
The weapon in this genre is always sort of iconic and a big part of the story.
The killing instrument came about from our first scene. We wound up killing Megan with a tire iron. But you can't just use a tire iron, you have to trick it out. You have to have some fun with it.
We gotta pimp that shit out. We gotta pimp that tire iron out.
Yeah, definitely.
What kind of guy would I be if I let you burn to death?
In some ways, we wanted to kind of make the weapon just ride the line between being awesome and being a little ridiculous.
In horror movies, deaths are called kills. And, there'll be Josh and I will have phone calls. Josh and Stuart will have phone calls, and I'll be talking to producers, and they all say the same thing. We need a better kill. What about this for a kill? How about that kill? I mean, it's a very, very important part of a horror movie.
Within sort of the confines of we have a tire iron with knives on the end and a sorority house, how do we kill people in a cool way? And how do we have their deaths be connected, hopefully, to their vices?
Cheers, slut.
From the script phase on forward, Chug's kill, where she's killed with a bottle of wine being shoved down her throat, has been almost exactly as written. There are a couple moments where we just outright do the crazy bad decision horror moments where a character walks off into the dark with no protection whatsoever by herself.
I'm gonna shut that thing off. No, wait, don't go alone. I'm good.
Claire, who's sort of the reckless girl that pours bubble bath in the hot tub, ends up being sucked back into the foam that she created and dying in it. So we tried to go through and make sure that everybody's, getting it in a way that relates to what they did wrong.
I mean, that's something that if you're into horror, you're always thinking of what would be a great way to kill someone. Sometimes when Josh is looking at me after a particularly brutal day of writing, I think he's thinking of what he could do with his pen to kill me right now.
Another cliche in these movies is the disappearing bodies. It's somebody gets killed. In our movie, it's in the shower. A girl gets killed in the shower right before a party. You know there are girls everywhere, and we didn't even address it.
If someone can please tell me how a girl gets a tire iron through her chin in a shower stall, and yet nobody notices it throughout an entire party, I'd like to know.
The order in which people get killed seems to be very specific in these movies, and you tend to end up with the last two being your favorite and your least favorite character.
Shit, the scaffolding. Well, good plan.
Because they're the fun ones to watch, sort of sparring with each other and to wonder which one's going to get it first.
You? No, it's okay. This is okay.
Another reason why Jessica is the last one to go is because it gives us an opportunity to see her suffer.
I'm really starting to think he's not marriage material.
See her kind of get rung through the ringer throughout the entire movie before she's finally mercifully killed.
That girl really needs to learn to keep her mouth shut.
The final motive speech is pretty well ingrained in the genre now.
Admit it. These are horrible people.
Some killers don't need to give a speech.
Do you really want to be dealing with this for the rest of your life?
But in this sort of whodunit among our group of friends subgenre of the slasher subgenre, I think the, give your big speech and explain what this was all about is pretty par for the course.
Reputation comes from the company you keep. And the company you keep? Bitches.
I don't have time for catch me, rape me.
For suspense to work, for terror to work, for audiences to sort of be expected to be on guard and heightened for 2 hours.
What about those implants? Does silicone float?
You need to give them a place where they can relax, where they can laugh.
Yeah, and then the corpses drove their cars home, idiot.
Where they can sort of, resettle in their seats before something gets scary again.
It's Mickey. I would know those ugly-ass shoes anywhere.
The notion is to try to have like a roller coaster ride for people where they get to experience as many different emotions as possible.
Is he dead? Well, he has a fucking tire iron through his head.
I think the horror movies we're trying to make are the ones where you can go be scared and still be able to eat your popcorn, as opposed to the ones where you start to eat your popcorn and then you throw up in your popcorn bag.
No, Megan.
Oh, wait. No, don't go out there. What? I tried to warn her.
Well, this film was a blast to make.
You're a bitch!
We're shooting crazy parties and murder.
It's like a roller coaster for a film. It's that chance to kind of look death in the eye.
Don't need this place.
When you're a teenager, you have so many emotions. Sexual, psychotic.
Oh, come over here. I'd be happy to kill you first.
And in a slasher movie, you get to experience all of them.
We're really trying to scare the crap out of people and have them have a good time in the theater.